First of all, huge thanks for your time. I appreciate very much you're willing to do this interview because so many events happened in the last month, almost a month after you did the historic climb to K2. When and why you decide to climb K2 without supplementary oxygen?
I decided from day one, and for me, the biggest challenge of climbing without supplemental oxygen this time on K2 winter was, even though I wanted to do it before I went, one, I wasn't fully acclimatized. I had only slept at Camp 2. Normally, you have to sleep at Camp 4 if you are climbing without oxygen. Second thing, when I was fixing the route with my team up to Camp 3 on the first acclimatization rotation, I had a frost nip on my 3-finger. So when you climb without oxygen, you become very cold. And then third was, I had planned to stand on the summit together with the team, singing the national anthem. That was my plan. I was leading the whole expedition. And the Sherpas are very, very, fast climber. And then when they take oxygen, they are like superhuman. So I was very worried, one, I'm not acclimatized fully. Can I still lead this team? Fortunately, I had the experience from last year of climbing all 14 8,000 meter peak in just 6 months, 6 days. I was confident that I could still lead this expedition. All went according to the plan. To be honest, some of my friends were like, wow, because they were oxygen, they were trying to catch up with me. But I think it also gives them motivation as well.
What was the most critical moment during the ascent or descent from the summit? Do you have some critical moment there?
Yeah, when we left Camp 3 about 2 o'clock in the morning and it was a bit windy. And as we climb up, Camp 3, we reached, Camp 4, the shoulder. It was so cold. It was very, very cold, like next level. I was hitting my leg on the ice to warm up. I was just and it was so miserable. And at that point, obviously, my friends didn't tell me, but which they said later. Some of my team members were thinking of turning around, and that was the coldest moment. That was pretty tough. That was the critical moment for everybody to see, and then not turning around and then keep pushing. But it was a very fine line.
Some of the members of the expedition told me that you and Atanas Skatov that you met at the base camp, you both with him were always smiling like generators of positivity. What are your personal impressions of Atanas as a person and as a climber?
Look, he is a great guy. We had, these amazing parties at the base camp when the weather was bad. We used to dance, and he's a great dancer as well. Honestly, I never thought that. And he's always, smiling, and he's very humble. He's very humble, so down to earth. People who climb 8,000 meter peak and of that level, normally, there's a lot of, ego. But he was very down to earth, and he's like my brother. We also made the video before I went for the summit push. Sadly, man, he's gonna be super missed.
Do you remember the last conversation that you had with him?
Yeah. I had summited and I got to base camp, and he and his friend came to visit me. They came with the camera, they recorded, and we were just talking. And I said to him, good luck. That was the last conversation we had as a brothers to brothers, because they hadn't gone for the summit push before that. I had summited and I was at the base camp, so they were asking how it is and all. And I said, we have set the fixed lines to the summit, so it's safe. Just be careful and keep plodding.
Would you take a look on that picture? If you could turn back the time at that moment of the picture, what would you do in order to change the outcome of the following days?
It's a very crazy, that picture. 2 of my close friends are gone. It's very sad. And I also see another picture that I had taken with one Pablo as well. Yeah, it's a sobering reminder, how lethal extreme high altitude mountaineering is. To be really honest, we didn't know what it was coming. We were just there at the base camp. We all wanted to, climb for our own purpose, own reason. Yeah, man, it's very sad,
By the way, what was the condition of the ropes when you descend from K2, and what part of the route from Camp 2 to the summit was fixed with ropes? Was it everything fixed perfectly with ropes when you climbed it with your friends?
Yeah. So when we climb, so we fixed, pretty much all of it on the summit push. We fixed from Camp 2. So we had fixed only up to on the first rotation, just near to the Camp 2. So we finished all of the Camp 3. And on the summit day, we fixed everything to the summit. And that's purely because I knew that we have to descend at night. So, and then for the safety, if there's one problem, it's winter, and then you got to help that guy, and I could imagine that my whole team could be in problem. So we planned to set whole of the route, because as I said, we were planning to descend at night. So there was a fixed rope all the way to the summit.
There was a very unusual situation when SST expedition went to Camp 3 on 4th of February. 25 people slept only in 3 tents, and 2 of those tents were for 2 people. So in this situation, do you think that this is a huge factor for the upcoming tragedies on the next day?
I really don't know. Obviously, to be honest, I don't know how many people slept on what tent, because I wasn't there. And if I'm not there, I don't want to comment. That's me, because I cannot give a justice to the ground level when I'm not there and I'm just speaking from here. So that wouldn't be fair.
When you were in army, you were always doing debriefs after missions in order to check what could be done better. In your opinion, after you know facts, not directly, but I'm pretty sure you heard everything that happened there, what could be done better?
I think, it's all down to your planning. We all went to the mountain, and for example, my tent were fully blown up at Camp 2. But then I went there to check by myself. If the tent is not there, it's an effort. But if you are not bothered to check that, then you have to carry the full equipment, because it's mountain. You always need to have a contingency planning. You cannot just fully assume that what you have left on the mountain would be there. So this is a lesson for everybody, but it's not something new. You always need to have a backup plan. And then if you have been staying in the base camp for so long, either you need to go and check, like what we did. We went to check our equipment in Camp 2. And that's when we know we didn't have it. So we came down and we planned everything. But then if you don't want to carry everything at one go, then you have to go and check. If you don't want to go and check, then you have to carry. Because, in mountain, it's always bad weather. It's unpredictable, and you can just hope for the best. You can't do that. You got to plan for the best. This is what it causes, the lethal incident on the mountain, because people don't plan to death. You got to plan, meticulously in detail, because the mountain doesn't forgive you. There's no margin for error in anything that you do on the mountains.
In 2019, we lost Boyan Petrov, another Bulgarian climber below Shishapangma. It was the last summit that you conquered during your amazing challenge. After Petrov's death, the China authorities closed the mountain. How difficult was for you during those days of uncertainty? Will they let you go and climb your last peak from the challenge?
Yeah, for me, Shishapangma was the last mountain, and then the Chinese authorities are very powerful. I was very worried that they wouldn't probably give me the permission, but, I think what I did last year wasn't my project. It was people's project, it was for everybody. I wanted to show the world that nothing is impossible. And when people realize that, your project is just bigger than yourself and it's for the better cause, that's what I think the Chinese government felt like. And there was a lot of support from all our friends from all over the world. They were writing to the Chinese authorities, and the Nepalese government also wrote to the Chinese authorities. It was hard work because I was running everywhere to make this happen. But I'm just thankful that they allowed me to climb Shishapangma with my team in order to to complete the mission.
Did you know personally Boyan Petrov? As I understand, you were together with Polygentcheva, who was shooting a movie with him when he died.
So personally, I didn't knew him. I hadn't met him, and that's purely because I came to this professional mountaineering world only from 2019. Before that, my job was different. I was a member of UK Special Forces, so I wasn't a climber. I didn't knew about him until I met Polly, and then I started doing more research. Then
you could get a lot of surprises in high mountains, as you mentioned, not only from weather or dropping rocks, but for example in 2017 in Lhotse, your oxygen was stolen in Camp 4. How that happened and what went through your mind during that moment when you are on the edge, close to the zone of death?
The biggest thing is in extreme high altitude mountaineering, you need to be able to recognize your weakness and your strength, and you should be true to your ability. Okay, that's a very key. My oxygen was stolen, but then what could I do? I could get angry. I really look at, the brain is every time is struggling to get to get the oxygen. And if you are not in control, in peace, then you're gonna be tired anyway. It's no good. So what I thought was, I just had to believe myself, which I told myself to believe that. Maybe it's right or wrong. I said, maybe my oxygen was used for rescuing people. So I thought positive in negative. And sometimes it's all it takes, because you don't have the options. You need to make your own dream. You need to make your own bubble to believe in better things for your better reason, better purpose. And that's what I did.
Two of your life principles are: everything you do in your life, you should never think about second option, and I would rather die than to be considered a coward. Isn't that a contradiction in climbing, where you always should have a second option?
Okay, there's two questions here, brother. Let's not get mixed up. It is better to die than to be coward. That comes from a Gurkha. I was a soldier. I was a Gurkha in the British military for 16 years. As a Gurkha, that's our ethos. When you go in the war, I'm not going to run away from the war. That's where it comes from. As a mountaineering, it's a different perspective. As a mountaineering, there's a very fine line between being brave. Your very decision of being brave and wanting to keep climbing could make your mission successful. Equally, that very decision of being brave and not knowing your full potential and not being true to yourself can kill you. The line is very, very thin.
Which was more dangerous and scary for you, running around landmines and dodging bullets during your time in the military, or climbing the toughest mountains in minus 40 degrees while you are fighting for every breath that you could get?
They both are different in different perspective. To be honest, they both are equally dangerous, but I think this is who I am. I live my moment at 1,000-meter peak. I live my moment when you literally have to make that decision between life and death. And sometimes you will fall. I have fallen in the mountains, and when you're like, wow, if I have been dead, then that's me dead. But also for me, I'm most alive when I'm in 1,000 meters. When I'm like gasping for that air, when I'm in that in my zone. That's when I'm the happiest.
How different is when you have companions with you, guys who hired you and your company to provide help during alpine ascent? Does the planning changed a lot, and how you manage to shape the mentality of the client, which is right next or behind you in the toughest part of climbing?
I love guiding, so the guiding mentality is completely different to the mentality of the crazy expedition that I was doing last year, 8,000 meter peak in 6 months, 6 days, K2 winter. It's a different mindset. But for me, guiding is like a passion. I love to teach people. I love to pass my knowledge. I also believe that your knowledge will get bigger if you teach the people. And in high altitude mountaineering is not one size fits all. Everybody is different. I truly believe that everybody can adapt to this environment, because we're human, we can adapt. It's a time of longer or shorter, and I love executing this kind of challenges. So I always have fun guiding, man. I love it.
I would like to speak a bit about your book Beyond Possible, which is pretty amazing with all your adventures. I think one of the most interesting stuff inside is that you find your own personal well of self-confidence in everything you are doing. Do you remember when was that moment in your life when you first found that well, and from then on you knew that everything is possible?
So I was a kid, I was a kid. I grew up in a extremely poor family in Nepal. My brother got into Gurkhas. In Nepal, 30,000 people, like young guys, had applied to join the Gurkhas, and only 230 could pass it in the British Army. It's a big competition, and I used to stay in the hostel, and our teacher doesn't allow us to go out of the compound. But then I used to wake up at sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I run 20-25 kilometers, sometimes 30. Then I come back I was only in year 9, and I used to sleep pretending that I haven't left the left the room. so that teacher doesn't find out, and then my friends doesn't find out, and then I get beaten. So I had that kind of stuff from early age, I think, but it's all about looking back down. I always had one ambitions. I do that, then I move on to other one. I'm not everywhere scattered. And what my ambitions, my objective is always something that I really love doing it, or I really love or aspire to be that. This is a perfect example. First you got to love what you do in life, then you work hard. You work hard than more than every population in the world. If you work harder than 7.8 billion population, then you can be number one. But if you don't work hard and you just want to be, you can't be number one in the world. And I keep saying my success is not a coincidence. It's not accidental. I have worked so hard for this. People don't see blood, sweat, and tears behind this. So to all the younger generation, I say, and whoever who sees me as a successful, don't take this as a coincidence. You got to work hard for it. If you want to be number one, as I said, in the world, you got to be working harder than the rest of the population in the world.
But it's very tough to do so. Okay, in some mornings you're waking up very tired. What you say to yourself to force to go up and to continue achieving your goals? What you say to yourself, to your mind?
Look, yeah, what you said is perfect. Maybe when you announce the project or something, maybe you do it because you tell the people, and then if you don't do it, they will make the joke out of you. But when you are training every morning, you say you got to go for a run every morning. You say to yourself, okay, tomorrow, and you make a plan in the evening. I'm gonna go like 30-kilometer run or 10-kilometer run. But then if you don't do it next morning just because no one gonna find out, or no one knows, then that's a wrong attitude, because you can lie the whole world, but you will never be able to lie yourself. And then to be that person, as I said, discipline is not enough. You need to be self-disciplined. Motivation is not enough. You need to be self-motivated. If somebody have to wake you up at 5 o'clock and you still wake up and you run, it's not good enough. You should be able to do that by yourself. This is the level that we are talking. If you want to be that next level, human, next level in what you do, you got to put next level of effort.
Do you met some clients that are coming to your commercial expeditions, got the desire to go to Everest or to some other 8K summit, but when the tough part is coming, they just couldn't do what is necessary to go up, they are breaking too easy. Do you met such a clients, and how you change their mentality?
Personally, I didn't have a really, that kind of clients, and it's the environment that we said at the base camp. It's the vibe, it's just everything is so important in this high altitude mountain. Why our team in K2 became successful? Yes, we're good enough, but then there's a plan to detail how you manage your team, how you put the positive in the team, how you make everybody part of the team. It's the whole bigger picture. And if you can't nail that, you can't be successful. So when people come and climb with us, we try to create that environment, that nothing is impossible. And obviously we push to that limitation, and every risk is calculated. It's super calculated. So that's why, I have led 21 8,000 meter peak expeditions so far. And out of 21, all 21 is summit success. Not only summit success, everybody has come home safely. No one has even lost any finger. So that's my track record. But it comes with a huge planning. It comes with huge attention to the detail.
Okay, speaking of planning, what's next for Nims Purja? You beat pretty much all the possible goals in climbing. Would you share with me and with our audience what is your next big goal?
So when I finish, climbing 8,000 meter peak in 6 months, 6 days, people ask me what's next. I said, stay tuned, I'll surprise you. And again, stay tuned, guys. It will be a pleasant surprise.
But as I see from your expression, you always have something in your mind, right?
Always, brother.
Okay, let's play a quick game. I will guess something, and you will tell me from 1 to 10 how close I am to your next project. 1 is very far away,
no.
10 is bullseye, okay?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna play this game, brother. It's gonna be pleasant surprise, that's all.
Okay, and just a small hint, would you tell us a small hint?
No. I think I also got loads of responsibility as well, brother. I'm a big advocate for climate change and global warming. I need to work on that as well. this is not the end of Nims idea. You will see a lot more. That's all I'm going to say.